Hi folks, it's Christine from Holcomb Sewing and Vacuum here, and I am sitting in front of our Altair 2, and we're going to talk a little bit about IQ Designer. This is a baby lock program that is contained within certain machines. If you have a Destiny, any of the Solaris series, the Meridian or the Altair, and of course our new Radiance, you will have IQ Designer. And IQ Designer is a way for you to create your own designs within the hoop. You can do very elaborate designs, you can do basic designs, you can set up in the hoop quilting this way. And what I'm going to do is show you some of the basics on choosing line properties and fills to get your design journey started. We're going to start here by choosing IQ Designer. And you can use your finger, you can use a mouse, or you can use a stylus, whichever you prefer. I'm going to use a stylus today because I think that's going to make it a little easier to see what I'm pointing at. Now, we're going to go over this screen. We have line design and illustrated design. We're not going to play with those today. What we're going to start with is right over here. This is your line properties menu. And you can tell it's your line properties because there's a line up here. If I go into this, this is going to give me the full menu that I can choose with lines. Now, if I were going to draw lines, I have these icons up here that tell me the kind I can draw. This would allow my lines to be open. This is going to close anything that I start to draw. The minute I lift my pen, it's going to close it up. This is a straight line, which is very handy to use, and this will allow me to do things, zigzags and such. But we're going to play down here, and this is where I play the most. This is a satin stitch. This is called a running stitch. This is called a bean stitch. This is where it goes over it like 3 or 4 times. This one's going to go over it twice. Then I have the asterisk, a diamond. Some people will call this an applique stitch. Others will call it an E-stitch. Then I have this decorative stitch. But if I press this one, this lights up. And I can get into here. And I have more decorative stitches that I can choose from. We're going to go ahead and close that right now by saying OK. And then this one is every bit as important as all these others. This is a no sew line. This allows me to pick shapes later on and tell the machine that I just want it to be a boundary. I don't actually want it to sew anything. Now here are all the colors I get to choose from. A lot of times if you watch my videos or you watch my classes or come into a class and we're playing with IQ Designer, I'm going to tell you to choose a color you can see. Some of these really light ones, when I go over into my design board, are going to be very hard to see. The computer reads them, but I might not be able to see them. So I prefer to choose one I can see. So I'm just going to choose the fuchsia, tell it OK. And in this case, I'm also going to choose a running stitch and tell it OK. Now then, my next one down are fills. We'll go into those a little bit later. I'm going to go into shapes now. And I am going to choose a shape. You can choose anything that you'd like, but in this, these are all more kind of standard shapes. Our next one are going to be shapes that have more curves to them, some more open areas. These are open shapes. And then the stamp key here allows me to create my own shape that I can use as a boundary by using it around a design. We'll get into that in another lesson. I'm going to go back to my basics, and I am going to just choose my rounded square. I'm going to tell it OK. Now, at this point, my system has already decided that this is what I wanted it to do because I chose that first. Now, if it wasn't what I wanted to do, and I wanted to change what that boundary is, and the reason I know my system has done it is because it's the same fuchsia that I chose earlier. But what I would do is first of all, I'm going to press my bucket, because if I press my bucket, anything I do on this line, it's going to fill the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and go over here, and we're just going to choose a different color, just so you can see hopefully see the contrast. So I've got that there. I'm going to touch anywhere on my line, and it's giving me a knock knock because I've already done it. Okay, so there we go. Now, if I want to put a fill in this, I'm going to go into my fill properties, and you can tell this is the fill property because there's a square and it's all filled in. Again, I'm going to go to my menu, and this gives me some options for my region. This we're not going to worry about right now. This is what we're going to worry about for now. While this looks like a satin stitch or a zigzag stitch, this actually is a knockdown stitch when it's in fills. And this will allow you to, say, knock down terry cloth or a fabric that has a nap on it if you want to put a design over it and you want everything to lay down. That's what that is. It's going to be quite dense. The next one is a basic stipple. Again, we have no sew options, but I'm going to go in here to the other fill, which is going to open up this grayed area. I can hit select. And now I have all the fills that I can choose on this machine. Right now I'm working with the Altair 2, and it has 30 different fills for me to work with. Okay, I'm just going to choose one, tell it okay. Again, I'm going to come back in, make sure I choose a color I can see, tell it okay. Now if I touch the center of my square, while this is highlighted, it's not, can you see what it's doing? It's starting to give me the design, but only in brush strokes. That's not efficient, and I'm probably not going to like my results because it's very unlikely that I'm going to catch all the bits and pieces. So on the Altair 2, I have this undo down here because I do catch myself doing that from time to time by mistake. I'm going to go back to my bucket, and I'm going to touch the center, and that is going to fill in the square that I created. I can also choose a different pattern for the outside. Basically, all I've done here is I have used that shape to contain the fills that I chose. Now from here, you can see that's really going to be pretty dense. Might like it that way, I might not, might want to change it. So I'm going to go ahead and go to next. And here I get the opportunity to modify this design. I can make it larger, which I think I want to do. I think that's going to be way too dense, so I'm just going to press on this, and then it will let me go up to 200% larger. When I hear that knock knock, that's telling me I've gone as far as I can go. So I'm just going to go ahead and set that. I can go ahead and go on over to preview now if I choose to. At this point, it's going to tell me IQ Designer will not be saved, and is it okay to continue? I don't want you to panic here. You can always go backwards. We have a reverse button, so to speak. But I'm going to tell it okay. And that's going to show me the design that I have chosen at that size, which I find to be a better size for most things. So I'm just going to go ahead and set it. Now again, it's going to tell me at this point that it is converted to an embroidery design and that we're going to exit IQ Designer. Is it okay? I can either cancel and go backwards, or I can say okay. In this case, I'm going to say okay. All right. So now that I've done that, I'm already over and into embroider. I can come over here. I can make the normal edits that I'm able to do on my machine if I choose to, or I can take it over into embroidery, and we can now take the design that we created in IQ Designer and sew it out. It's telling me it's going to take roughly 3 minutes. We've got 2 color changes, and we have 2,489 stitches. Hope that gives you a little bit of help working with your IQ Designer.